How you doing, guys? Joe Vizio here, coming to you from this nice cold Florida evening. Right now my thermometer says 45 degrees and it's not even 7 o'clock in the evening, so we're probably going to get down into the upper 30s tonight, which I know what you're thinking. That's swimming weather probably from where you are. That's pretty damn cold for Florida. So I'm going to go out and do some work. And so I figured on my way there I'd tell a story or two. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rehash an old story. I want to try and tell it again knowing what I know now. Kind of see how it goes. See how it makes me feel as I tell it, how it makes me feel after I watch it. I don't know. We'll see how this goes, huh? So, I want to tell a story about going out to dinner one time. And honestly, I don't remember what I named this video before. But, we lived in this little town called Poinciana. Wasn't even a town, it was just a community back when I lived there. Now the place has grown so much that they've actually chartered themselves an official city. But when I lived there, and wasn't nothing but the hicks and the sticks out there. Not really much to do, you know. They had their one store, their farm store, a couple other little shops, you know. I think there was a little bar, little video renting place. But that was it. It was probably a 30-minute drive south from Kissimmee and probably about a 30-minute drive north from Haines City. So we were kind of sandwiched in between two bigger cities. And, you know, Kissimmee's pretty big. May not have skyscrapers and stuff like that, but Kissimmee's sprawled out pretty far. And, you know, usually anytime we wanted to do anything, you know, we would go into Kissimmee. And that's what this story is about. We were on our way to Kissimmee to get something to eat. It was me, my father, my sister, the two boys, and my father's girlfriend. I don't think I've ever given them names. We'll call my father's girlfriend Kim, and her boys, the older one will be named Chris, and the younger one will be named Eddie. So, I don't know if they got names now. I always said them boys. Now they got names. So, was all of us, you know, the boys, me, my sister, my father's girlfriend Kim, and himself. And we were in Kim's car, which was like an older Honda station wagon. I mean, it was like from the early 80s. And I was sitting directly behind my father. And as we're driving up there, me and my father just kind of cutting up with each other. And, you know, we did that a lot, calling each other names. And, you know, we had some pretty colorful names sometimes. My father even used this one name for me that was a racial slur for a black person. And that's what he called me, and that was perfectly okay to him. But I said something to him that really, I mean, struck a nerve. That struck a nerve, unlike, I don't know, using a racial slur against somebody, but, you know, we'll go forward with this. I forget how I said it. It was just something to the effect where he called me a name, you dookie head. Oh, yeah, you're just a big scumbag. And that was the magic word that really set my father off. That word just was, I mean, if you ever see one of those movies where they're in a bar and they have the music playing and everybody's dancing, and then like somebody walks into the bar that's like totally out of place and the music just and stops and everyone's just looking at the people, looking at the person. That's kind of what happened. I mean, the fun just stopped. Without really any warning other than the stoppage of the fun, my father, while the car was in motion, turned around in the driver's seat and is coming after me, and he's swinging. He punched me in the mouth. He punched me in the side of the head, and he was probably going more for the face again, but by this time, I'm trying to get over the back seat, trying to get to the way back in this car. The two boys and my sister, I mean, they're just they're ducking out. They don't want to get hit with any stray blows. And while he's doing that, his girlfriend, Kim, has one hand on the steering wheel trying to control the car, and with the other hand, she is just absolutely unloading on my father with this book that she had. And she's screaming at him, telling him to stop. Now, mind you, this takes place, we're on the bridge, and we're kind of like going up, you scumbag, and then on the way down is when he is turning that around in the car and he's coming back after me. So she's got her hand on the steering wheel trying to maintain control of the car. She's hitting him with the book that she had, and it was one of those thick hardcover books. She's hitting at him, screaming at him to stop. I'm flying over the back seat trying to get away from them. The brothers and sisters kind of ducking this out. This was a fucking mess. My father turned back around in that seat and had the audacity to look at his girlfriend and say, "Don't you ever hit me again." Let that sink in for a second. Yeah. So, I ruined everything. The whole dinner day was ruined. This was done. It was all my fault. You know, my father couldn't tell me, hey, listen, that word's kind of a no-no to me. You shouldn't say that word. Again, not like I called him some kind of a racial slur. Nah, he turned around and he started swinging. And I stayed in that back. I went over that seat. I stayed in that back. I didn't want to go near that man. And we turned around. We've always heard the threat, "Don't make me turn this car around." This time the threat became a promise. He turned that car around and we went home. That was it. That was the end of the dinner date. Go home and eat peanut butter. You know, his girlfriend, Kim, she knew. She didn't do that to her kids. Her kids actually grew up pretty normal. I would say the hardest time that them kids had was when they were living with my father. That's the boy, Chris, the older one, where my father coached his baseball team. So he lived with them for quite a while. So, you know, I imagine that they got the verbal end of it, but they didn't really get hit like I did because their mother wouldn't allow it. Kim would not allow her kids to be punched in the face. And she's the one that put a stop to my father hitting my sister. I do remember hearing Kim say that he wasn't to hit her anymore. I think she told her, if I'm remembering this correctly, she told my sister that my father wasn't going to do it anymore. And I remember something about it being said that if he hits her, I think this was in one of their fights, and maybe a private conversation that we could hear because they were loud. But just sticks out in my memory of her saying that if you hit that girl again, I'm leaving. So my father didn't hit my sister anymore at that time. And I don't think that there was anything that she could do to save me. But I do know that it struck a chord with her. And, you know, when they split up, when my father and Kim split up for that final time, because they were kind of off and on again, off again throughout their history. When they finally called it quits for that last time, I think me and my sister got blamed for it. I think it was part of what helped make my father as selfish as he was through the later years, through the ending part of my teen years into my adult years, and even maybe to present day. I think he just kind of had this attitude that, you know, he was never going to let his children affect the relationship that he was having again. But I remember when the two boys, Chris and Eddie, their mother's mother, she was some executive for one of the casinos in Atlantic City. And I remember the employee Christmas parties that they had. And, you know, man, I just remember so many people going to this thing. And all the kids, it didn't matter how many there were, all the kids got to go up on the stage and see Santa Claus. And Santa Claus, after you told Santa Claus what you wanted, he gave you a wrapped box. And when you open these boxes, I mean, it was good shit. It was like board games, like Monopoly, Payday, Sorry, Life. I mean, you know, those games back in those times were probably $20 in the store. And, you used to go see Santa Claus. You get a candy cane. Here you go. Just don't stick it up your nose and poke your brain. They were, this casino, I mean, I guess at that time, they made money. May have still been mafia owned, I don't know, but they had money. And I remember after the Christmas party, some of those executives would get to take the leftover games. So, after Christmas, we just get like a pile of those games and, 4 or 5 of them. And it was just awesome. But anyway, kind of memory banking here. But they owned this big farmhouse out in New Jersey. Beautiful. I mean, we're talking like the kind that you could only imagine in a painting. I don't think it had the wraparound porch, but it should have had the wraparound porch, if you can kind of get my picture of what kind of house this was. Beautiful. And after Kim's mother, who was the owner of the house, her mother and her father, after they died, the boys, Chris and Eddie's real father, bought that farmhouse. And when he bought that farmhouse, he wanted his boys to come live with him. And, Dad had a little bit of money. He was a worker. He had a really good sales job. And obviously he was real successful at his job. And so the boys wanted to move from Florida back up to Jersey to go live with their dad. And I remember I was kind of upset about it because I felt like I was losing 2 brothers. And even though in our young years, we were kind of, I mean, I know I did some fucked up things because just the nature of the relationship between Kim and my father and what my mom was telling me, I kind of bullied them boys. But as we got older, we kind of did some fucked up things to each other. But all in all, I mean, we kind of had really finally bonded. And they were going to leave. And I remember telling them, I was talking to both of them, but, more Eddie more Chris specifically, because he was the older one. It's like, guys, I really, wish you wouldn't go. And if I have ever done anything to make you want to do that, I'm sorry. And Chris looked at me, he says, Joe, it has nothing to do with you. He says, we're just tired of having nothing. Let that sink in for a second. He was tired of having nothing. All the stuff that I've told you, all the whole monetary thing that I keep getting into, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me. So they were headed down headed up to New Jersey to go live with their father again. And it wasn't too long after that Kim had eventually left my father and followed her boys. She wanted to be near her children. And that's kind of around the time, and I want to say that I was like maybe 16 years old when this happened. Because that is around the time, I was a little older. I was probably like 16 and a half years old, because that is the time that I found my mother after she had abandoned me. It was right around the time that Kim was leaving, because I remember my mother was going to come and pick me up and take me over to her house. It was the first time that I was going to see my mother in 3 years, but it was going to be on the day that Kim was packing up her truck so that she can leave back to New Jersey. And I remember my father telling me something about, you need to mind where your loyalty is, because this woman's been like a mother to you and she's leaving and you don't care, and then you're going to go and run to this lady who hasn't been. Yeah, my father said that to me. Yeah, at 16 years old, I probably wasn't really old enough to rationalize that, or maybe a normal 16-year-old could have been, but I was by far a normal 16-year-old. With what I had already seen, I was kind of already, what they used to call in the military, shell-shocked. But by that time, I was probably already showing signs of the PTSD. But I just didn't know it. So, Kathy followed them. I'm sorry, I keep calling her Kathy. I keep thinking of this other lady. Kim followed her kids up to New Jersey. And me and my sister kind of took the blame, because it was never really the same after that. And although my father was gracious enough to wait until we were 18 years old, but after we were 18 years old, it was pretty much, I'm moving my new girlfriend in now, and this is no longer your home. And it showed, because I've said throughout different videos, and I'll rehash them again because I kind of like the way that I feel after I'm telling this. As it shows in different videos where I talk about how I had to go back home to my parents, to my father's house, which, can be normal for the young budding adult. I was still, pretty young. I think that if you have to go home 1 or 2 times before the age of 25, that's acceptable. Not to just go back home and live in your parents' basement and smoke weed and listen to Pink Floyd. But if you need to go back to your parents' house and get your footing and things like that, that should be acceptable. Should be acceptable at any time to be able to help your kids out, within reason. But, I think that those first at least 5 beginning adult years are pretty critical, and you're bound to get your ass kicked a little bit. Unless you're like my father's wife now, who was pretty much coddled by her parents, lived the dream life with her parents, didn't have to move out until she had perfect credit, money saved, good job, there's no rush, honey, get your education, which I'm not knocking her for that, but I do knock the fact that she pretty much helped take that away from me and my sister, because once she moved in, me and my sister were no longer welcome. And she made sure that she did what she could to try and alienate us from our father. And to my father's credit, I do remember a time when I was 19 or 20 years old. I don't know what exactly it was over. I can't remember, but I do remember my father telling her specifically, please do not make me choose between you and my son. So, again, to my father's credit on that one there, that he had actually said that, but that shows how early she really, looked at me and my sister like a pain in the ass, and needed to get rid of us like a pest. So that's why I say that. But yeah, she was coddled. She was, she had princess's room up until, So guys, I hope you like that one. The original story is, I believe it's called like Going Out to Dinner or something like that. It's within my first 10 videos. I do say the racial slur in there. Please don't take me that way, because that's not how me or my family lives. You know, I'm not a racist person. I am actually in an interracial marriage, so we don't look at color and nationality and stuff like that. That shit's for my parents, my generation. We try not to get into that shit. So yeah, if you want, take a look at that one. Take a look at this one. I feel a lot better that, telling this. I mean, I guess I kind of could find a little more humor in it, got a laugh out of it. And, we'll see how it is once I go in this place over here and start cleaning and I listen to it. So we'll see if this one doesn't end up on the cutting room floor, you think? Guys, thank you very much.